So today, Jason is having a very sleepy day. It is currently about 10 a.m. and he's still just snoozing away. I will say he's kind of had a little bit of a rough week this past week where a lot of sleeping was involved and a lot of feeling overwhelmed if he gets in situations where there's just too many people and that type of thing. You know, he tried to visit with neighbors. He could last for a little while. He has to go home. And he visited with some of his cousins. And of course, just things like that just really exhaust him. But I know in the moment he wants to do it. So that's kind of how his week has been this week. So I thought it might be a really good week to kind of talk, just kind of flip the narrative. And let's talk a little bit about how we can support caregivers. Because there's little things that I think maybe people don't know. And this might be super useful for those who are going through this or have someone near and dear going through this. And when I say support a caregiver, keep in mind that this can be for any type of caregiver, not just those who have dementia. It could be for, maybe your loved one has cancer or autoimmune diseases, MS, all that kind of stuff. All these are really great tips for you as an outsider who isn't going through this to really be able to step up and do. All right, so let's go right into number one. I'm making this my number one because it was something that I witnessed recently. And it actually upset me, and it didn't have anything to do with me. It actually had everything to do with Jason. And so a way that you can support the caregiver and also support the patient at the same time is to engage with them. I think a lot of times people pull back when that person has a type of disease, and especially with dementia, and they don't want to communicate like they normally would with them. But at the same time, you can't communicate normally like you would. And something I'm finding with Jason is if he starts to communicate a story or tell you something, you have to stop. Even if you were mid-sentence, you have to stop and let him just say whatever he was going to say, because one, he's probably not going to remember what he was saying if he stopped and let you finish. Because a lot of times he'll remember and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead." I suggest right then and there, you're like, "Oh no, you go ahead. What were you going to say?" Because otherwise he's never going to remember what he said. And when he talks, don't interrupt his communication, because he's going to forget it. And then he will be like, "Oh, I don't know what I was going to say." And I know that a lot of times can be frustrating. And so as a caregiver myself, this is something that I've had to learn to do with him. And if I teach others to do that also, it kind of takes that stress off of me, because as silly as it sounds, it's like when I feel him have stress, then that puts the stress back on me, because a lot of times that stress in the patient can come back in different forms, frustration, anger, and those type of things. Really allow that communication to be open. So number two, you can just be an emotional support person for the caregiver. This is the biggest thing that I enjoy as a caregiver, when my friends and my family, they just let me gripe or talk about a situation. Because sometimes if you don't talk about the situation, basically, sometimes the situations are so unrealistic in most people's minds that you're like, "I can't believe this is actually happening." And you just want to say it out loud, because it helps your perspective get put in other people's minds and helps others realize sometimes the crazy things you go through, especially with dementia. Even years and years ago, back way a long time ago, I took care of my dad when he was dying of lung cancer. And sometimes even just saying things out loud back then of what really happened, I don't know if people would be like, "Nah, that did not really happen." Oh, but it did. And so just allow that caregiver to be able to have you as emotional support. Let them tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, and understand that they're not saying anything bad about the patient. It's how it's affecting them and what they're seeing. So be there, be that emotional support. Okay, so number three, going right off of that, is offer respite care. I have lots of people who are always like, "Oh, if you want me to stay with Jason, let me know," and that kind of thing. I think that that's something that a lot of people don't understand, is like my life has become very strategic in where, when I go to the grocery store, or how I get, I'm getting my hair done. What's Jason doing? Even just the other day, Jason laid down to take a nap, and we had a plan. Like, he was going to take a nap and I was going to run to the store. And we had family that happened to stop by while I was gone. So it rings my phone. And of course, Jason's not answering the door because he's asleep. And I see who it is. And so I call and I get Jason woke up. But it's just funny, like just how strategic you have to be with everything. So yes, offering the caregiver respite care to go about and go shopping and, get your hair done and different things like that. But also be respectful, and a lot of times they're going to turn that down, and I'll turn it down a lot because Jason's not comfortable with it. He's still, and everyone's at different stages in all illnesses. And he's still at the stage where he feels like, he doesn't want to be babysat. Like, he'll hang out with his friends, he'll hang out and talk with Dave or whoever and not think anything of it because they've always hung out and just chatted or smoked a cigar or whatever. But if I bring somebody over specifically randomly to suddenly sit with Jason, he's still at that stage where that's going to make him feel really weird. So it's such a fine line. I'm over here like, offer respite care, but don't be offended if we don't take it. But we will. So hold on. I will definitely take you up on that in the future. So number 4 is sometimes it's just, you don't really think about it. I have a wonderful friend who does this for me, and I've actually taken her up on it a couple times. So number 4 is help with daily tasks. And what does that look like? Sometimes my friend Samantha, she'll just call me and be like, hey, I'm out running errands. Do you need anything from Walmart? Do you need anything from the grocery store? And most of the time I'm like, no, we're good. Thank you. And then other times I'm like, hold on, I need something. Because I don't, like I was just talking about, I don't have the ability to just hop in my car and run up to the store and get it. Because you never know what that day is going to look like with Jason and being left alone and that type of thing. So offering that service to caregivers is really handy. And hey, sometimes they're just gonna be like, no, we're good. But you never know. It's gonna be that one time where like, yes, I need this. What was that? Was that number 5? I'm lost on how many numbers I've done. Okay, I think this is number 6. If not, sorry. So the next one is educate yourself. If you educate yourself, it takes a lot of that pressure off of the caregiver to always have to inform you of how everything goes. And yeah, when you're not living it, you're not going to know it as well. But if you just read up a little bit, like maybe someone in your family has a condition that you don't know a lot about, and asking that caregiver all about it is not going to be something that he or she wants to just sit there and always talk about, like the actual mechanics of the disease. So educating yourself can really take that pressure off and then put you in a great frame of mind to have knowledge and help out in any way that is possible. Okay, I think this is actually number 6. Because I think I was doing 7 and I have this one and one more. All right, oh boy, who's forgetful today? Something that is super helpful for a caregiver is for you to show compassion. And I don't mean that you need to be like showing sappy compassion, but having compassion for others, showing empathy, putting yourself in that person's situation can a lot of times really change how you look at things and how you respond to what those people are going through and what they're saying and what they're doing. And have compassion for the one who has dementia or the other illness, because that really goes a long way. You know, a lot of times we have sympathy for people. We're like, oh, we feel sorry for them. But if we really turn it around and try and envision ourselves going through that, doing that life and that type of thing, it can really change like how you think about things, how you look at things, and how you treat others. So keep that in mind. And last, but the most important, is to pray for your caregiver. A lot of times, everyone prays for the one going through the disease, you know, to help them, to heal them, and all those things. But pray for the one who is taking care of them, especially, I feel like in a dementia situation, because unfortunately, those all have the same outcome. And they start to lose their ability to even care and think about things. And it's so sad. And so pray for the caregiver, because they don't have, chokes me up, they don't have the ability to separate themselves from the situation. We very much know what's going on. We very much know where this is going. And pray that we get wisdom and knowledge, and we have everything, the equipment, mentally, physically, everything that we need in order to just do a really great job. All right, well, those are my 7 tips. I know there's so many more, but those are the 7 tips that just stay high in my mind when people are always asking about how they can help and what they can do. And so I want you guys to take these and use them in the world and be kind and spread joy.